Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where there are podcasts. And if you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wild, sometimes hyper-violent, and sometimes weird world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And we got a fun show for you this evening. We've got reviews for Invincible Season 3 and Pixar's Win or Lose. But first, I know we're a little bit late to this one, but we couldn't avoid it any longer. We are talking about the new pilot animatic, Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl.
Right, so this was the animatic indie pilot released by Kiana Khansmith, who, if you've been around the social media scene in circles, especially the Pokemon fan art and those online Pokemon card game shorts, you would recognize her. And she has been working on this animatic with full on voice work and one or two moments where there is actual fully fleshed out animation, even if it's like motion tweens or whatever the actual animation rigging tool is called. And on top of it being a very goofy meta parody take of the magical girl genre, where instead of having a girl who is like super excited to be a magical girl, she's in the same mindset and zone of One Punch Man. She does not like it. Not because that she destroys or blows up everything with one punch or anything, but just in the sense of she treats the responsibility and powers of being apparently the best magical girl in the world as like a chore. And all she wants is to have a normal life.
I think that's a great place to start this series. We don't really know much about her backstory. All we know is wherever she comes from, whatever she's been doing as this magical girl, she's just done with it all.
Exactly. And you can tell because she has the ultimate magical girl weapon for when you are just done with everything. A lead pipe. Instead of it being like, oh, I can shoot magic, or the lead pipe turns into a giant magical wand or something, she just breaks the villain's legs, like quite literally, not figuratively. You see him turn around and be like, things are not over yet. And you hear just the most painful sounding bone crack of his legs just being 12 different pieces of destroyed.
And by the way, the voice actor who plays the villain, that's Alex Lee.
Oh, he's one of the main characters from Demon Slayer, and he's my favorite lizard boy from Dodo Hidoro.
Yes.
And we also got Aniris Quinones, Bennett Abra, Christine Mary Cavanos, and like you said, Alex Lee, Shara Kirby, Michelle Knotts, and Mary Eve Harrington, who played Sydney the Kidney Girl, where the little magical star creature goes through the student walking into the bathroom, minding her own business, who may have had her organs switched around inside.
That joke just came out of nowhere, but like sent me as I was watching this.
Well, it's just like, bro, some kid got a perfect score on the quiz. The curve is beep. There are like maybe two or three different curse words here in this pilot. And I understand like our friend Bree talking about how it's a little tonally out of nowhere that there's cursing in this assumedly child friend or family friendly looking show. I understand that, but I think it's very funny to have this series with a bit of spice in it. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and the third Trolls movie had some cursing, but granted, those were all bleeped out. I could have just bleeped it out, but
That's what I was thinking. Like, kind of like DC League of Super Pets. They had a great bleep curse word joke.
I think that was the running gag of it all. Oh yeah, it was with the tortoise. And she's just like, where the bleep am I? But then again, when you have Natasha Lyonne, you got to have fun with that.
Oh, of course.
This is what I've been talking about with these indie pilots. The animatics look great. The art style is distinct. You can tell that Kiana has worked on shows like Big City Greens, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. It's got likable characters. The expression game is really out there. And I love that they flip some of the tropes, like the magical transformation is just like a blip. And then when she wants to turn back into her normal average schoolgirl look, it gets the big fanciful transformation sequence. And I would at the very least like to see another animatic episode because I want to see where they build up this world of magical girls. I think I got extremely spoiled by that. I think it was the fall season from last year where we had like what, three or four different magical girl shows, and
Yeah, I
they
think
all had
so.
like super different perspectives. Like one was a magical girl working with the villain, the other one was where magical girls were basically like a temp agency. And it's a lot of fun when we get to see something a little different. And we're going to be seeing some other pilots gain release soon since Glitch is going to release another pilot
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Gaslight District.
That's coming out
And
next month, and I am very excited for that.
I'm just happy that Glitch is continuously doing stuff like that. And I'm so happy for Kiana's pilot for Pretty Pretty Please I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl getting the love and support that it does. Because again, something that I have talked deeply about and on basically repetition, fans need to show support for these pilots, whether they're fully animated or not.
Judging by the numbers, I think that support is there. What is it? Three?
Yeah, over 3 million, almost 3,100,000 views in a span of 3 weeks. And it's so cool to see another pilot show up because, once again, I think only one pilot I watched last year was able to break out to the 1 million view club. And even then, that's not, going to help make more of that pilot and such. And it's cool to see that, like, even though this is a mostly animatic pilot, I enjoy seeing the one splash of color to give us an idea of what it looks like outside of the black and white animatic look. But I would be down for just this whole series to be, for the most part, just animatic because it works. Like when you have your posing and characters down to a T with how they look and how they act, it's like the animation is just secondary then.
Basically, for those who aren't as well versed in how animation works, animatics are basically a web comic with motion to some extent.
So yeah, I'm super happy that this pilot has done well, and I hope it gets more traction. And we see, like, you know, I mean, I guess Glitch is the only company that's going to be able to do something like this with. After they're done with the digital circus, they'll do their two other ones, and then maybe they could help out Kiana or Monkey Wrench with their stuff. I don't know. It's up in the air, but we need more successes like Pretty Pretty Please I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl, the upcoming Gaslight District, and obviously with what's going on with the Owl House creators new.
Knights of Guinevere.
Yeah, like, okay, let's keep showing this support, let's keep it going, y'all. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, whether that's because of with money or just sheer luck of like, hey, we can make this into a series, and whatever, it's just the same spiel. Like, good job for Kiana and her team, and for the wonderful voice cast. I cannot wait to see more of this.
same.
Let's dive into the violent world of Invincible season 3. It is wild to be here because, as much as I do enjoy this show, I am starting to see the cracks. And not because of any storytelling or animation. The animation complaint, we'll get to that in a moment,
Yep.
is secondary. My thing about watching season three after the impactful season one and the sort of drag season two and the Adam Eve special, I think Amazon needs to start giving the Invincible team more time and money to craft this show specifically, because it has been revealed that Invincible's budget is, well, it was like some Deadline article said it was like 3 or 4 times less than the boys, which,
E-
yeah, I understand the boys needs all that CGI and such, but at the same time, this is supposed to be one of your Hallmark shows, and you can't give it a proper animation budget. Like, let's get that out of the way first. There are a lot of noticeable, like even more so than usual, moments where the animation looks rough. Either characters are super stiff, some models are like some characters are off model at points, or they're just sliding visuals across the screen. Or, and in some cases, like Invincible's fights are constantly just him running into people or ramming
oh,
into people.
yep.
So you don't have to worry about fight choreography and dynamics when you just have an invincible young man like torpedo you in the torso and such. You know, honestly, when you see the finale, I get it.
That's what I kept telling people who are like, people have been complaining about the animation even as far back as like the first season. But I've been telling people just like, but look at what the finale, look at that fight, and you can see where all the resources were poured into. Now, story-wise, we'll get to that in a second, but something else I wanted to bring up is I kept seeing people comparing screenshots of the series to the comics. First of all, these are two different mediums, so of course there's going to be differences in character designs. And also, especially if Amazon isn't giving the show the budget that it deserves, of course you're not going to get super detailed characters like Angstrom Levy.
Yeah, so that's a problem. Super detailed animation and detailed characters take time and money. And when you do not have that time and money, you can't do much with characters. This is what's a thing with anime. It's Invincible is working off of the anime budget system, where a lot of standing around, a lot of we will make the action as limited as possible or write our way around it. Like with season two, there were so many fights where they just cut away and then it's like, oh, it's over. And it's like, okay. I understand that final fight with Conquest and Invincible is stunning, though I would argue it doesn't look any better, or maybe it just looks slightly better than just any of the finale fights from the previous seasons. One of my big issues with this season is the fact that they are paying off a lot of small little sprinklings of story beats, and then they are just introducing way too many other ones. Like at first, the whole Martian invasion and Angstrom Levy plots were pretty much the sole focus of season two, which made part of the story drag a bit until the introduction of the other Viltrumites telling Mark, saying like, hey, you better do what we say or we're just going to murder everyone. But let's list all the plot points that are in season three.
Yeah, because season three is packed to the brim with lots of stuff.
And not to say that there aren't good or fun moments. The Rhino parody, Elephant, voiced by the great John DiMaggio, him realizing that he is just a punching bag for Oliver. There are a few moments in this season where the villains are super disappointed that they are no longer the main threats or priority number one. Or as like the Mauler twins would say, we got downgraded. And then Elephant being like, wait a minute, am I just a oh, come on. Man, that's not fair. So let's go through it. Doc Seismic almost causes the end of the world with the help of magma men and giant creatures that live underground. Oliver is finally gaining his powers and is like switching between acting like a normal kid, just a little version of Mark, or becoming sort of a sociopath like their dad. And that doesn't really go into play for a majority of this season. Then we also got the breakout between Omni-Man and Alan, with some great moments between J.K. Simmons, Seth Rogen, and the mighty return of Battle Beast.
Yes.
I love that sequence where Battle Beast is like, finally, Viltrumites, I've been waiting to fight you all for some time. And Alan is just like, forgive him. He's a fan. He just really wanted to meet y'all. Just like he is so done with Battle Beast's antics of just nonstop fighting. Then we also have the Guardians of the Globe breaking off because what Mark finds out about Cecil. We also have the background and history of Cecil, of he and Mark were in the same spot of the world being very black and white, only for Cecil to realize it's very gray, and sometimes we have to use the evils that are thrown our way for our own sake.
I love the line that comes from that episode. We can be the good guys, or we can be the guys who save the world. We can't be both.
And Mark is going through I say going through, but it's not really focused on an arc of dealing with his control over his emotions, because even though he's saying, I am not my dad, I am not my dad, Cecil calls him out on that. He's like, you aren't? Well, you're scaring the shit out of me. Because Mark, he's thinking he's not the bad guy, only to start doing stuff like, oh, I'm going to talk in very tyrannical dictatorship ways. You better follow my rules or no ball. And then there's also time travel, where Mark is taken into the future by Dropkick and Fightmaster, who are both voiced by, or the young adult who plays Blue Beetle in the live action DC stuff.
Xolo.
Xolo plays Fightmaster and Dropkick. And they take him into the future because in the future, the immortal was left to rule over the earth, and where he went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And I understand why there's so many plots like this, where Mark has to sometimes accept the fact that he needs to kill people. And that's been his one consistent struggle throughout this whole season, of going back and forward between, do I kill someone for the sake of protecting the ones I love, or do I not and let the government handle imprisonment? Which, boy, man, this show has a thing for prisons this season. It's like more so than usual from the previous seasons does the prison like industry complex come into play with this one.
If there's a line that Mark says a bit too many times, is you're going to prison.
It's like, yo, no. Especially since the fact that I think it was the third episode, starts with that wonderful 7 minutes of silence, no dialogue, just visual storytelling between two villains who try to go clean and be good, normal civilians, only for the system to shut them out and force them to steal and to try to rob a bank. Well, gee, what a great bit of commentary about how the system is perpetually against people like them. But nope, Mark is like, you're going to prison. You could make so much money by getting a quarter every single time Mark Grayson says, I'll kill you, or you're going to prison. And I'm not making fun of like Stephen Yeun or anything. It's more just the writing that bugs me about a lot of this season. Oh, and on top of that, Mark and Eve, they get together. And even though they're rushing into it, I like their dynamic, but there's really no time for that to be the focus. Robot finally finds a way to cure Monster Girl of her curse. Okay, then. The separated team of heroes then becomes like even smaller because Rex and Shrinking Ray, or at the very least, Shrinking Ray decides to leave, even though she could have left and stopped being a hero when everyone else decided to bail because Cecil was lying to them. Then like there's a a decent like arc between Ray and Rex, where the two of them bond, and then again, oh my gosh, just these so many of these plot points and characters are bugging me now. Immortal decides that at the very end of dying again, he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done being a hero. I want to start a relationship and family with Duplicate, which that's that whole romance dynamic is gross.
Yeah, that one has never been my favorite of any of the ships in this series.
Like you could say Duplicate's a young adult, but Immortal's like, you know,
Couple,
centuries
yeah,
old.
couple centuries, yeah.
That's a little different. It's like that one joke from the What We Do in the Shadows movie where Taika Waititi's character is just like, oh, well, some say I might be a cradle robber. She's 93 and I'm 9,000. It's still like, ick. I'm sorry, I don't care about their relationship. And how many times Immortal's like, I'm going to quit, even though outside of Mark, Immortal's the second strongest hero that they have. And then Cecil is, well, let's not jump to Cecil yet. The Mahler twins get killed, which, even though they have one of the best punchlines of any character here, we're worse than supervillains. We're businessmen. Like, man, I hope they bring back the Mahler twins somehow because Kevin Michael Richardson is a gem and he needs to be in this show more.
Yes, agreed. The only way, though, that the Mahler twins can come back is either multiverse shenanigans or if Cecil happens to have their DNA on standby.
Yeah, to clone them and all that jazz. And then we get a return finally from Titan, who is not voiced by Mahershala Ali this time, but Todd Williams, which, if you didn't know that, you wouldn't have noticed.
The voice match is pretty spot on.
Yeah, he plays Rick Mason in the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. You wouldn't really know him from much else, or at least I don't know him from much else. But right there, Amazon, you're spending so much money on celebrity casting. Was Mahershala Ali too busy? Or did he cost too much because now he's going to be in that Jurassic Park movie that's coming out? If the celebrity casting is causing the animation to buckle from time to time, I think I'd be fine if they cut out some of these celebrity voice actors that they got. I mean, one of them can't come back unless they bring him back somehow because Rex, spoiler alert, kills himself to take down one of the Invincible clones or alternative universe Invincibles. And I mean, granted, Invincible, the show, has kind of done that where it's made important plot points become completely undone a few episodes later. So who knows? Maybe the Mahler twins and Rex Explode will come back at one point, but I highly doubt it. Or if they want to be cool, they won't bring them back. Have some actual consequence in this freaking show.
That is one thing. I know I can't talk about consequences and death because I'm a Dragon Ball fan, but still, this show gives Dragon Ball a run for its money in that area.
And then we get a return. Like, they had so many plot points that they could have made this a whole season over. Oliver becoming a bit of a sociopath could have easily been the entire plot of this season. But no, because we got to get the return of Titan where he has to get Machine Head back out of prison, which, man, I did not realize how much I missed Machine Head until I heard Jeffrey Donovan's performance.
Yeah,
His
same.
constant sarcasm is hilarious, and he's a good character actor. Like, he's not just a guy from Burn Notice or from the season 2 of Fargo where he's great in that. And just like, I got to get back to my computer classes. I got to learn how to use Microsoft Word, or else how else am I going to learn how to get an office job? Then we also have Eve giving an ultimatum to her parents, Adam Wilkins and Betsy Wilkins, voiced by Fred Tatasciore and Craig Griffin, where she really says, like, listen, I won't use my powers here, but you got to accept me for who I am, or else I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Like, or see you ever again. Which, yeah, you know what? Put your boundaries up because for almost pretty much the entire show's run that we've seen Eve's two parents, they have done nothing, or at least the father has done nothing but degrade her.
Oh yeah, her dad is trash.
Yeah. And I know it's like a stepdad situation, but it doesn't matter. He's still a father figure and he's treating his daughter like garbage. And then we get that juicy little detail about the Viltrumites, where Alan finds out through Omni Man, Nolan, that there's around 50 or less like pure-blooded Viltrumites, which sets up a very interesting bit of world building and lore, depending on if they ever actually decide to investigate into that. Because, yeah, okay, so these deadly murder machines aren't really there in numbers. So, what could have caused that? Was it a disease? Because, of course, Immortal somewhat hints that at one point in the future, Mark gets sick. And, or like, what happened? But we only see Alan and Nolan for that one half of the episode. And we don't see them again. No, after credit scene or anything like that. So it's like, okay, well, I guess we'll just have to wait for season 4.
Speaking of which, something that I've noticed, or maybe I'm completely off on this because I haven't read the comics, but apart from like certain adaptational changes, I'm not sure how faithful this is to the sequence of events of the comic, but it is kind of interesting how season 4 is actually adding some new material. They tease that at the end of the season with the return of Damien Darkblood.
Okay, so let's work our way up to that. So, about the halfway point of the season, we get the return of Sterling K. Brown as Angstrom Levy, where I'm sorry, how can you tell me that Angstrom somehow survived that fight?
Seriously.
His head looked like a squished bag of meat, of ground beef. And yet he was able to still be conscious enough to pull himself into basically the Cenobite universe, where the technicians, one of them voiced by the original Hellraiser himself, is there. And yet, like, how? And in a few months, he got that pulpy blob of flesh that he used to call a head back into working order. Like, either I need the health insurance information for those technicians, or there's just some utter nonsense that they either did not explain or didn't really want to build upon. And this is on top of like Mark dealing with the consequences of his actions, because one of the more dark storylines that happened throughout this season that again doesn't get a whole lot of airtime is the encounter with Powerplex, aka Scott Duvall, voiced by Aaron Paul, who is mad at Invincible because, from his perspective, he thinks Invincible killed his sister and his niece, and that because the government is slow as hell, and that, Invincible's a freaking like murder machine in waiting, nobody has really done anything about bringing him in or having him answer for his actions or his father's actions, and goes through the whole ringer of trying to get the attention of Invincible to fight him, only to end up killing his own wife and son. And yet he still blames Mark for it, which it's like, this guy just needs help. He does not need prison. He needs a psychiatrist.
Yeah, Aaron Paul gives a great vocal performance, and his character is very tragic in kind of a Frank Grimes way. But still, I think his arc would have been more impactful if he was introduced maybe a little bit
Earlier,
earlier.
drop the seeds within either season 1 or 2 and then bring them in, or just say like, hey, we're going to focus on this story for right now. Because on top of everything else, and then other things like the multi-Paul situation, where you find out that Kate has a brother, and a lot of my friends are mad when they realize that multi-Paul and duplicate are pun names. And multi-Paul is voiced by Simu Liu, so our Shang-Chi from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Again, there's a lot of potential story beats there, but he is not given a whole lot of screen time. He's just more of a secondary threat towards everything else. And then we get the Invincible War, where Angstrom brings in a slew of alternate universe Invincibles who wreak havoc on the main universe that the show takes place in. And like there are some fun moments. Like a lot of the designs are great. A Mark with a mustache doesn't really work. He can't pull off his dad's mustache. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, no.
And I do love the moment where that one blind gun shooter hero gets a hit on that one nasally yellow caped Invincible, where he's like, come on, when are you going to finally hit me? Ah! You know, maybe some of these were fill-in characters because apparently from what I read, the Image Comics characters were like did make cameos within the Invincible universe, but since they couldn't get the rights to it, they had to make a bunch of new heroes, which makes a lot of sense why so many of the secondary heroes feel so
Generic.
yeah. Apparently there's a business baby character who I don't get that character. Is that just a joke or a reference towards the boss baby?
Uh, Great question.
Which again doesn't really matter because he gets killed and it's like okay, whatever. Well, sometimes the power level of some of these heroes don't make a lot of sense to me. But anyway, what's also interesting is that because Mark has done so much more training than these other Invincibles, the other Invincibles aren't like they're strong. I mean, it's still an Invincible, but they aren't as dangerous as they could be, which means, we're going to see more of them in the future, or at least we're going to see some of them in the future when Angstrom drops them into the alternate wasteland dimension, which, they're going to find a way back.
Yeah, of course they are.
And I will say, even though I complain a lot about the plot points that keep coming back or are brushed away or solved too quickly, that poor Egyptian pharaoh Kahor cannot catch a break for any minute of his life. All he wants to do is get a host and rule the world. He cannot, for the life of him, get that done. And he's being a real misogynistic piece of garbage by not letting Riley be the host. And Riley has that great line of, your people locked you away for a reason. Maybe you should deal with that. And then Ka is like, bah, like you women. And it's just like, screw you, you misogynistic piece of shit. Oh, Chloe Bennett did a great line delivery there. But again, the Invincible Army, the fight against Angstrom, could have been in the previous season or its own entire season because Oliver doesn't really get a lot of focus after that. Like at first they feel like he has to pick a lane. Like, does he want to be like a murdering sociopath like his dad? Or does he want to be in control of his emotions and his powers like Mark? And we don't get a lot of that. So it's like, okay, that was a good finale. Fine. He beat Angstrom again. The Invincibles are somewhere else. There are a few dead heroes. And we're building up, metaphorically, the relationships and dynamics between all the characters. Okay, great. This is the last episode, right?
Nope.
Why is there an episode 8? And then at the very end of episode 7, when Mark is at his emotional low point, we get the arrival of the one and only Conquest, voiced by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, where he is one of the, I assume, remaining pure-blooded Viltrumites, even though he is broken, scarred, has a robotic replacement hand, and, not a very good dental plan considering his teeth. And here is where I was like, okay, there's too much going on. They could have easily cut so much of this out because Conquest comes in at the very end. And while the 8th episode does a really good job of building him up and either have him lying or telling Mark the truth about how alone he is, like, I agree with Johnny Tucello's observation that Conquest seems like he's an exception to the rule of the Viltrumites. Like, even among Viltrumites, he is an outcast because of how
Unhinged he is.
I'm alone. I don't have any friends, no one to call my own. And it's like, yeah, you were about to rip Oliver in half and you killed so many people in Brazil. Gee, I wonder why you are all alone. And poor Eve getting back into the fight and get that really brutal hit. Like, ow, jeez. But again, they essentially rehash the shock moment from season one where Conquest just drags Invincible through Brazil and murders so many people. But I guess it makes me wonder, okay, did Brazil not get hit by one of the random Invincibles flying around? Because
Apparently
everyone
not.
seemed, apparently throughout the rest of the world, Brazil was just having a party, which fair. Throughout a really good, excellent, brutal fight with Conquest, Eve, and Invincible, Invincible finally takes down Conquest, where he is giving him no out, no sparing human emotion kind of thing. He is killing him. Or as we think he's killing him, because while this whole thing is happening, you see Cecil working with the good doctor, Sinclair, about turning the dead Invincible clones into those Franken monsters. And then, even though Mark tells Cecil, burn his body, Mark, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, you should know by now not to trust Cecil, or at least to assume that he's just going to do whatever shady things he needs to do.
Man, it's like I love so many plot points in this season. I love the emotional character arcs that some of the characters go through. I love seeing Paul become more of a loving, significant other to Debbie, and I love Cliff Curtis's performance. And I love the little moment with Titan getting picked up by Invincible to fly to the prison location, where he says like, "This is still some bullshit." It's like, I don't know, dude. And like, yes, the fight with the giant dragon is great. And I love Z Ma as Mr. Liu, even though, again, they undercut his death by showing obvious signs that he's going to come back. It's like, okay, whatever. I mean, it's magic. Maybe there it's just supernatural stuff. And even then, I am so I feel like Cecil is just like, yes, I'm going to make sure we have all the protection that we need against the Viltrumite invasion. Are you really thinking about using Conquest, dude? And then they lock him up, and it's like, okay, he's in this huge giant steel box. And if he moves an inch, even though he has his face caved in, the whole place explodes. And it's like, that's not going to put him down, dude. Mark and him fought in space. He got flung into so many buildings. He had his arm torn off. He had his face caved in, like Mark was listening to Bang Your Head. I don't think he's going to move unless you do something with him.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't know. I think this needed to be a longer season. Give me 12 to 13 episodes. Let the plots breathe a little. Really, that's really what needs to happen. Either focus on little or just say, like, you know what, we're just going to end these moments. Fine. Sorry. We promised too much, like we were George R.R. Martin with Game of Thrones.
Just as a reminder to those who may not have read the comic, not including any spin-offs, there are 144 issues or 25 volumes of the original Invincible comic. So, as far as material to cover, this show can last like for pretty much like 10 plus seasons. But the question is, how long realistically do you think the show will last?
Because they keep shrinking the budgets, we're just going to get animatics at one point because Amazon doesn't know, or whoever is in charge of Invincible's production doesn't know how to spread the budgets. And oh my god, just yeah, okay, we get the sign of, oh, those squid aliens have been multiplying in the sewer, and yeah, Damien Darkblood, voiced by Clancy Brown, is setting some things in motion. And it's like, okay, so we're going to have some supernatural stuff now? Okay, calm down, show. Even though apparently this was supposed to set up in the comics an encounter with Invincible and Spawn. But, well, they're not going to have Spawn now unless Todd McFarlane is really, really thinking, yeah, let's do that. I don't know. I really like this season. I like the acting. I think it's still funny and the action is solid, but I'm ready for more of Invincible or they take their time. Like, I know a lot of people complain about the 2 year gap or so between season one and two. I'd be fine with that if they did it again because these teams need more time.
That was the other point I wanted to make, that some people are just complaining for the sake of complaining. I'm worried that Amazon is overcorrecting because there was such a big gap between season one and season two, that now they're sacrificing the quality of the animation for a timely release schedule. And it's like, no, if I would rather the animation be given as much juice as it needs.
And listen, I love like this show. I enjoy it. I am so willing to wait, and it's okay to. But I understand that because the animation industry is in such a disaster mode right now, where not even the best studios in the world are safe from the animation industry's turmoil because Hollywood sucks. You have to make a compromise. So, for a quicker release schedule, does that mean cheaper animation? Or would the show be willing to say, hey, maybe let's not hire so many big name actors? Because otherwise, it's like, what are you doing? You're spending all the money on the big names, but I digress. It's still a good season. It's got way too much going on, but I am maybe losing my patience a little with this show. I hate to say that, but I think I'd rather they take their time. Take 2 years, make a new season. Let's just treat the team well. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
But overall, I'm still very much enjoying the show. I'm enjoying watching it, but I will agree, story-wise, they have to iron out the bugs.
Like, I don't think I want to see Angstrom again until a season five or something. Focus solely on this Damien Darkblood thing. Because from what I can tell, it just seems like the whole Viltrumite invasion thing is just going to take its sweet time if what Nolan said means anything where, oh yeah, they know that there's disaster and the two of those Viltrumite prison keepers are now dead, but they won't send anyone except for Conquest apparently being like, nah, 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 nah. I need the extra hours. I'm taking down Earth, which is something I could see like actually happening because this is a executive produced by Seth Rogen and such. But yeah, obviously people have watched it and they love it, and I like it too. But we'll just have to see where it goes next season. But for now, let's talk about Pixar's one and only TV limited series, Win or Lose. For those who may not remember, because this was announced, like, I think way back in 2020 or 2021.
This was when they did that like Disney Investor Day in like December of 2020.
Yeah, this was when they were, going all in on the big streaming investment, which is now causing so much strife within the industry because it's like, wait a minute, we're not making any money back, which sucks because it was like, okay, we need new shows and movies for our services. So let's experiment a little. So Disney obviously said, hey, Pixar, how about you make us a limited series? And this was the big announcement, the big reveal at the very end that Pixar was making their one and only first TV series until recently, where Disney was like, no, man, we're not doing that again. It's costing us way too much money to tell Pixar to make a TV show for us. It was created by Carrie Hobson and Michael Yates, who I recall the situation of how they came up with the story was they would be in Pixar meetings in and out like all the time. And one of them would go, man, that meeting was great. While the other said, man, that meeting was rough. And that's where the pitch came. what if we told a story about how the events unfold from different perspectives? And in this case, the time leading up to a Little Leagues championship game where we follow a handful of characters. We follow Coach Dan, voiced by Will Forte, Yu Win, one of the players, voiced by Isaac Wong, Kai, voiced by Chanel Stewart. We'll get into the whole Kai situation later. Rochelle, voiced by Milan Ray. Frank Brown, the umpire, voiced by Josh Thompson. Lori, the daughter of Coach Dan, voiced by Rosie Foss. Vanessa, the hardworking single mom of Rochelle and her little brother, voiced by Rosa Salazar, aka our battle angel Alita. The Taylor, voiced by Kylie Curran. Ira, voiced by Dorian Watson. And essentially James, who is a part of Kai's storyline, and he's voiced by Lil Rel Howery. And I love this idea because there have always been perspective storytelling experiences or plots to episodes where each character does a like, well, this is how I believe everything went down, or like this is how it came off to me. Well, heck, Jellystone did one also recently with its new batch of episodes.
Yep.
And here they find new like what I love about this is that we see multiple scenes play out in different episodes, but there are these little tweaks and touches that change up everything. One of my favorite examples is the difference between Rochelle and Vanessa and their dynamic. Rochelle like knows that her mom is struggling financially to support her and her brother, and she like decides to become, like a super smart business girl and make a lot of money on the side so she can afford stuff to keep playing softball and being part of the team. And from her perspective, Vanessa comes off like a very ditzy, bratty, like internet influencer. And of course, some people are going to say, not all influencers, maybe don't say that when there's that whole story about that one American influencer stealing a wombat in Australia for some reason.
Ugh.
Like, some of y'all are so stupid and such a waste of space.
Mm-hmm.
But from Vanessa's perspective, Rochelle is very cold shoulder to her. And like, because Vanessa is just doing so hard. She's not a perfect mom. She is irresponsible. And instead of focusing on the exciting world of influencers, she really needed to buckle down and really focus on raising Rochelle and her brother. But I do love the perspective of her story alongside Rochelle and how her world was in shambles due to stress and panic after Rochelle gives Vanessa a call on the phone. Like, there are so many great visual touches that the animation team came up with for how to represent the current mindset of some of these characters.
Yeah, this honestly was my favorite part of the series, that each episode had its own identity. I think just visually, one of my favorites was episode 5, Steel, which was focused on Taylor's little brother, Ira.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, with all the cool 2D elements, or episode 2 where we follow Frank Brown and his video game like world. I do love that the show doesn't shy away from a few things. Like, on one hand, I think there are two separate cases of divorce parents, like divorce households.
Oh, yeah.
And then the fact that some sports fans are kind of psychotic, where like with that one mom in the parking lot, she's like, everything's fine. I'm just going to talk to him. I'm just going to talk to him. Picks up a bat with nails in it and pulls a ski mask over her face. to tell Frank that he like did the wrong calls and such. Like, golly, this show is so funny. It is so delightful with its humor. I love Coach Dan's multiple gestures and such to try to tell his daughter that everything is okay. And it starts going by way too fast. And then it's a blink and you'll miss a detail of, is your mom seeing anyone? And before I realized it was a divorced parent situation, I thought Coach Dan was like, is your mom single? And it's like, Coach, that is a really weird thing to ask a kid. It's going to suck talking about Lori because her character gets thrown under the bus because of the whole Kaye situation, which we'll get to, because the extravagant article clickbait you'll hear is that they took away the trans storyline, which, yes, they did, but I want to talk a little more about that when we get to it. And they replaced it with a Christian character. Lori's Christian beliefs don't really show up.
Yeah, like before you said that, it was completely lost on me that Lori's supposed to be Christian.
Like, she prays once. This is like the same level of Disney saying we have a gay character. And then the whole 2017 Beauty and the Beast moment with Josh Gad's character happened. And it's like, oh, that's all you were doing? That's it? Okay. Like, I was thinking Laurie was going to be like a Bible thumper or something like that. But no, her perspective plot is the fact that she gains a stress buddy of sorts, Sweaty, voiced by Joe Firestone. And I love the visual representation of Laurie's internal stress of not only being single handedly probably the worst player on the team, but the stress of feeling like she's only there
Because of her
because
dad.
her, yeah, because of her dad. And I know it could be really easy to pick on Will Forte and his voice work performances because he's basically the same like voice for every single character. I'm not going to blame him on that. That's him. There are so many famous actors and voice actors who go off of one voice, but you got to have that one voice.
I mean, Seth Rogen has the same voice in all of his characters, but it's the writing that makes those characters different. I could say the same thing about Coach Dan. I think when you cast someone with such a distinct voice like Will Forte, you're using that voice to like its full advantage, or at least that's what I'm hoping is the case.
Well, and it's like I love like the interaction with his daughter during the last part of the first episode and how I mean this goes into his story arc of like he's way too connected with holding on to his team because this is all he has because of the whole divorce situation. And he feel like he's getting replaced by the parent teacher council or like the Karens basically. And but I love the moment where he's just like, we're not playing until you tell me what's going on. He is flawed, but he's a very good father figure.
He is.
He cares about Lori. And I love that little moment where it's like, come on, coach, like let's play. I will stay in here all night until I'm done talking with my daughter. Like again, the way that this show, it's very Pixar with how they portray the mindset of these adults and kids. Like Frank feels defensive, so he gains a suit of armor and a shield, also because he's the umpire. And he feels like I messed up my one true love life. And I don't want to go into that again. Even though he gets pushed into the dating scene more by like one of the characters that steals every scene that they're in with Francis, voiced by Flula Borg.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Flula Borg's character, Francis.
He is so like unhinged and extra. Yeah.
He knows when Frank is in trouble. Like, even though he's like far away from in the school, as a janitor, and he's like, Frank. And he shows up there. Or how the parent teacher conference alumni are crawling all over the place like they're xenomorphs. And I love like Ira having the kaleidoscope with how he views the world. But I do like his character where he's so alone in the world and he just wants to make friends. And he does, but they're not good people. So he has to come to his own terms and realize, like, I messed up. I gotta do the right thing and like not be with the bad crowd, like my sister said. And then well, speaking of his sister, we have the whole romance between Yuen and Taylor, which is very cute, though Yuen shows a deep, deep amount of,
Insecurity.
yeah, masculine insecurity because he just cannot help but wreck everything. And I love the cardboard cutout of his heart and how he really feels. Like he is a very insecure little kid. He acts tough, but he acts tough only because of he's worried about being vulnerable. And it's like a tragic little romance and probably a more realistic romance that came to be and then fell apart than what's going on in Invincible. It's just so cool to see Pixar continue to push to show that kid characters deal with the same emotional stress that we all do as like teenagers and young adults. It's just a different perspective that we wouldn't have gotten if we didn't have people like Pete Docter helping out and such, or Pixar being Pixar.
Yeah. Like the fact that in the same show we could have an episode focused on young love with Taylor and Ewan and a guy like Frank who is my age and trying to get back into dating.
It's messy. Humanity is a messy, messy thing, and we have to accept that. And then we can all help one another become better and such. But I guess it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, the thing that possibly caused all of the delays that it took for this TV show to come out outside of Disney's incompetence with Pixar and their production pipeline. Let's talk about Kaye's story arc. So, this was supposed to be a very important, and I mean like actually important, not Disney important TM, like with how they define it. Kaye was going to be one of, if not Disney's first openly trans character. And it was a very big deal to have trans actor Chanel Stewart provide the voice for Kaye. It was exciting for them. They were going to be an important part of pop culture and of Pixar and Disney's lineage. Unfortunately, their parent company, Disney, was like, we don't want to talk about the trans or the queer bits in life because even though Disney's a whole lot of, we're all about family, we treat you all like family, we care about family and representing and being a good brand for families, they obviously do not care for the queer community. And that is because they took out the Kaye storyline of Kaye being trans. And that sucks.
It does.
You ruined this one actor's life dream goal of proper representation in something as big as a Pixar project. Something that could have done so well for representation in media that's not just treating queer or trans folks as punching bags. And Disney, through Weasley nonsensical bullshit, was like, we don't want to be the ones to introduce this to younger generations. We want parents to talk about it. Even though Disney is kowtowing and bowing down to all the conservative losers that they have tried to win over ever since The Last Jedi came out and told them your precious Star Wars doesn't matter. But here's the thing, Kaye's story is still extremely unsubtly trans.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that they probably did was take out the character saying trans or like you're trans or whatever, because you know why? Animation takes so much time to get done. Disney forcing them to change at the very last minute probably forced them to basically like, man, we cannot change a whole lot. Well, can you not say trans like out in the open? And it's like, okay, I guess, but it's the way the arc of Kaye is shown from the hoodie that they wear to everything, like the whole talk between her and her dad. It's like, but you used to like baseball. Obviously, Lil Rel Howery was like, but you used to be my son, or something like that. Like a parent coming to terms that their character is trans. And yet it's so funny because it's like the most passive aggressive, indirect, but most blunt storyline of Kaye being trans.
They just couldn't say the word.
They just couldn't say the word. Disney was too afraid for Pixar to say trans. Like, Disney, buddy, if Bob Iger and his incompetent brigade of losers are listening to this, you guys are such spineless cowards. You guys get so hung up on a single word that you are willing to throw Chanel Stewart under the bus to keep the good faith with families and incels who were never going to watch this show in the first place.
Oh yeah, no, of course, of course they weren't going to watch this.
Like it's that whole thing going on right now with the whole like Snow White underperforming where so many of these stupid losers are going like, we did it, we're causing it to fail, and it's like, man, this movie was going to fail no matter what. And the bad PR and your stupid, freakish obsession with Rachel Zegler weren't going to cause the movie to fail instantly. Nobody was listening to you twerps. Like these grown ass men who are so like, Snow White's not a white woman, even though it's like I'm not going to watch the Snow White remake until it hits Disney Plus. I'm not going to the theater for it. These losers could just not watch anything and just not bother anyone. And yet they want to make the world like all their little problems, all their misogyny, transphobia, racism, everyone else's problem because no one gave them a hug. And to see Pixar, of all studios, bow down to Disney and yet still find a way to tell a very trans storyline is bonkers. Absolute bonkers. That, like, it sucks. You're telling me you're afraid to say trans?
It is like absolute mind-boggling that they're so whipped to that group of people, and yet somehow, in spite of all that, the episode that we got, it's still very compelling because even though she can't say the word, Kai is still a great character.
I mean, it's like Kai is going through gender dysphoria, like literally throughout the whole episode. The only difference is that they just aren't saying that Kai is transgender or just trans. It's so dumb how Disney overreacted to this. This just reminds me of the whole thing with the Gravity Fall creator showing all of the different like standards and practices notes he got from working on Gravity Falls. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? The world is so inclusive and expansive than just white people must be the main focus of and everything. Because again, animation takes a lot of time. So either they forced Pixar to go into overtime and then still laid off a ton of the people. Thanks, Disney. Or they caught it early enough to where they could make the proper changes, but still be like pissy with Disney by still doing an indirect trans storyline. It's such a good episode. It's quiet, it's meditative, and like Kaye is so good, and I love her interactions with James and James trying to work around the fact that his daughter is now playing softball. And I mean, of course, it's about the softball, but it's not really about the softball, if you know what I mean.
Of course.
And just the fact that James and Dan are fighting against one another to be the better coach, to where Coach Dan gets the last episode and becomes like this giant obsessive balloon monster because he feels like everyone is throwing him out. And it's like, this is my team. This is my thing. You cannot replace me because of whatever reasons you think of and such.
They do a great job in this episode getting you to sympathize with him because this team is like all that he has left. But because this needs conflict, he also is the monster that everyone has to come together to pretty much save from himself.
Because throughout the whole episode, he is constantly holding in his true, honest feelings and thoughts. And you get a humorous little bit of it, how it's like like when he wants to say what he means, but not loudly. He comes off like a balloon losing air. He's like, nobody likes you, James. I was a little shocked that there weren't more episodes to cover the rest of the teammates. Like, it's really Ewan, Kai, Rochelle, Lori, Taylor, and that's it. The other teammates are just there for window dressing.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately.
I'm going to assume they maybe had more episodes planned but then Disney was like, wait a minute, you're having to make like new assets from scratch. And how much is every episode going to cost, despite the fact that this show does not have the biggest list of well-known actors? I mean, really, the biggest person you have in this show is probably Will Forte.
Yeah,
And
or maybe Lil Rel Howery.
yeah, or Rosa Salazar. And because everyone else are just like character actors, child actors, or Flula Borg. And I also like Aaron Keefe as Lena from the coffee shop. Like, I know people are getting a little sick and tired of this art style that Pixar is using right now.
I personally love it.
I like it. It's super expressive, but I understand. It's like the same like simplistic design look for everyone. But easy to do designs means better animation and more times to actually do all the polish that comes with making a Pixar movie just in TV form. Even though it's like, if Disney was not ready for the fact that this was going to cost them a whole lot of money to do 7 episodes, maybe make sure that these episodes air on TV just so you can get some residual advertisement dollars and such. Like, I don't know, man. It's like Disney is like, we're not doing any more streaming exclusive stuff unless it's on the dirt cheap. And it's like, okay, you gonna put them on TV then, or put out streaming exclusive movies in the theaters? And they're like, oh god, no. We're still gonna release streaming exclusive movies and shows, but we're not going to let Pixar do any of the things that they probably want to do.
It sucks when studios don't want to spend more than they absolutely have to. On the flip side, they'll spend too much when they definitely don't have to.
Yeah, especially with the recent Captain America and Snow White. Like, good lord. Like, I don't care. Like, if you like those two movies, fine, whatever. More power to you. I'm not going to make fun of you for liking those movies. And I don't mean you, Mike. I'm just saying in general. Nebulous audience. But golly, just the fact that they're spending so much money on those, and it's like, man, stop.
There is no reason a Snow White movie needs to cost 270 million.
And it's like, well, what? And also, what were y'all expecting when you said, "Hey, Pixar, use your movie tech and tools to make a TV series for us?" Like, yeah, there was no way to work around it, like in that Terra Nova. I think it was Terra Nova Spielberg show where they had, where it was basically sci-fi with dinosaurs and such, where they could like work around the fact that you didn't get to see a lot of the dinosaurs because those visual effects were costly as hell. There is no hiding that here. This has the polish of a Pixar movie stretched between episodes. And it doesn't have the Disney TV team visual look like the what's that Monsters Inc. series called?
Oh, Monsters at Work.
Yeah, yeah. Like that, I understand. That has TV budget written all over it. Here, it's like, what were you expecting Pixar to do? Not use their highly expensive and well made crafting like tech to make super polished looking CGI for a TV budget? I don't know, man. Disney is so weird because they realize, oh, hey, the streaming bubble popped and we're going to make it everyone else's problems and not Bob Iger's, which, you know, you should make it Bob Iger's problem and whatever. So it's a shame that there is so much nonsense going on with Disney and Pixar because whatever Disney is doing or whatever is happening with Pixar, like, did you see that recent article about Pete Docter responding to a question about AI
I saw that.
where he's just like, he's not saying it's great, but he's also not saying it doesn't deserve to be in the medium of animation or in the world of filmmaking and art. But he's also like, yeah, maybe we could see a potential use of it when artists are the ones using generative AI. And it's just like, yo, Pete, my man, Mr. Oscar winning director of two different movies that he directed. I think your head is on wrong. I think you got a few screws loose if you think generative AI is in any way going to be worthwhile when all you have to do is stop firing your animators. Disney, you know, it's I just ugh. And it's like, man, I really like Win or Lose. It's just it's always going to have that asterisk next to it where it's always going to be the show that Pixar made that Disney said, okay, we are not doing this again. That cut out the trans storyline as much as it possibly realistically could, gave them a Christian character that had no real, you know, staying power. And it's still a Pixar story. It's still a very sweet, genuine human experience that all these characters go through. But it's also like not as good as Pixar could be. The whole ending between Frank and Vanessa is so forced
Yeah,
because
unfortunately.
I could have at the very least had another episode where Vanessa and Frank go out or something. Just try something else. And I don't want to hear people say like, "Oh, like Vanessa was that random anonymous person that Frank kept talking with over the phone on that dating app." And it's like, "No, that wasn't Vanessa."
Oh God. I what? No.
No, and I'm just saying that like there is no build up for that to happen except Frank, instead of using his defensive shield and armor to metaphorically, he became the knight in shining armor to save Vanessa's baby. And it seems like they could have gone a little further with some of the other kids and some of their plot lines. But there's nothing we can do. Pixar did what they could under Disney. And honestly, Pixar's biggest enemy is going to be Disney, its parent company, because it is very obvious by Win or Lose, Soul turning red, that, and to some degree, Inside Out too, there's something about Pixar that they really want to evolve and tell different kind of stories different, like mature stories or more intimate stories. And yet, Disney is going to hold them back, especially with the fact that they're making a Coco 2. Like, I love Coco, one of my favorite films from 2017. We do not need a Coco 2.
Can't even wrap my head around how that would even, how you make a story that continues that world.
Coco was a one and done movie. It's okay to have one and done Pixar movies. We don't need to see a Cars 4 or an Up 2. Even though I know Harley Quinn joked around with that, with Bane going like, I wish they made us an Up 2. And then Lex Luthor is just like, Bane, shut up. Plus, Up doesn't need a sequel. It's perfect as it is. Like, it's okay to let Ratatouille be Ratatouille. It's okay for Coco just to be Coco. There must be an alternative universe where Win or Lose got to fully embrace its ambition and do what it wanted, despite still being a really solid TV show or a limited series. Like, it's still got a lot of that good Pixar humor, touch, and charm. But I am worried. Like, I don't know if I'm really excited to see Elio or any future Pixar stuff. I want to see it. I am ready for it. Whether I love it or not, that's going to be dependent on how I end up feeling after the show or movie. But I don't know if it's like ever going to be back into that top 10 most anticipated spot or anything like that. Like,
I'm not ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet when it comes to Pixar. I'm still reasonably excited for Elio,
like
and
Elio looks good. Don't get me wrong. It looks sweet. It looks funny. The trailer was had a lot of really solid jokes, like the kid going inside the alien's mouth and be like, huh, it's a lot cozier in here than I thought it would be. And the alien's going like, really? I've never been in there before.
or my favorite line, "Hi, Dad, I'm a bargaining chip."
Like, there's still some good stuff there. It's just, I think Pixar, or at the very least, Pete Docter, might need to think about where they want to go as a company, as a studio, as a creative space. Because I don't want to see them be a sequel factory again. We are going into that, and I hate it, man. I hate it so much that we're just going to get nonstop sequels because Inside Out 2 did really well. I want to see Pixar do original projects. I want to see Pixar branch out of their overall family audience. I want to see them do all of these cool creative things, like, because they obviously really want to do what like European and Japanese animation are doing, but Disney is just like, nah, you can't do that, buddy. And
Do you see a future where Pixar ejects itself from Disney and goes fully independent, or are they bound by the mouse?
I could see it happening. I could see Pete Docter being like, man, you know what? We're done. Or I don't know if they can ever go fully independent. I feel like if they leave, either Netflix or like Universal are going to be like, hey, you want to come make a deal with us? We won't touch your ideas like Disney will. Like, and I'm not saying that should happen. I'm not saying a merger or a buyout should happen. My point is more
Pixar, get better.
get better, and just Disney needs to let them be. Let them cook. We don't need a movie a year or two. Just let them be. Let them create. Let them expand. Let them evolve. Because Win or Lose is like the prime example of seeing them expand upon an idea, a premise, a different medium to tell a story. If I was Disney, I'd say, like, yeah, keep doing this. This is really cool stuff. This is really cool. Because audiences want new things.
Of course,
I
they want
mean,
new things.
it's going to be wildly inconsistent when or if they ever do want those new things. But all things considered, that, and I say this because just because of the whole situation right now at the box office, where like Novocaine, Mickey 17, and other smaller original movies are not doing as well, even though they still have legs. Like the Day the Earth blew up got its theatrical release expanded and is doing pretty okay, all things considered. Keep doing the new. Keep trying out new ideas. Even if they don't work out, it's like, hey, you know what? You did a good job with this. You did your best. And then you can take that ambition and try again and just fix the parts that didn't work the first time around.
Exactly.
So I wish they were going to do like a win or lose season two or another anthology series, but we'll just have to see what happens with Pixar like in these next few years.
In the meantime, I am very curious to see how Elio and Hoppers perform because if those do well enough, those could embolden Pixar to keep coming up with new ideas, keep expanding their repertoire.
And they got this, man. They can absolutely like make this work. So, oh well. I mean, I guess we got to be ready for Toy Story 5 to come out next year. So, next time, we're going to be talking about Batman Ninja versus the Yakuza Justice League. Though you might want to be careful because there might be some common side effects that come with watching that movie.
Until next time, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Blue Sky at campsideview.biz. I have my own website called campsideview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am also a contributor to Media Magpies, your next stop into the world of media criticism. And I have a Patreon at patreon.com/campsideview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.